Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Neoteran Herald Weekly. This is the seventh episode in this series. We are talking about entering into week number 42. That is the title, but you are well underway into week 42, which is going as you entering into the third day of the week. We chose to do this episode today because today is a very significant period, and today's episode is going to be dedicated a lot more to talking about the Neoteran calendars, uh, special 7 day season, you could call it, on a period that we call the ascendant solstice. And please, if you can hear us clearly, please let us know in the comments. I know people are still joining, uh, but if you can hear us clearly, let us. I'm just sending that message into the chat. Uh, Now let us know so that if there's something that we need to tweak a bit, whether it is the volume or the clarity of a sound, uh, we can do that. I don't have as yet any studio assistants who can help me do the audio, so we are doing it all in one, and it's not possible for us to monitor our voice and the audio as it goes out. So I'll be periodically keeping on checking in the chat so that we can do that. I don't want to take a lot of time because we have plenty to discuss. And today it's not just, as I said, today is a very, very important period. So we do have a countdown. It doesn't just, this countdown is not counting down to the start of the week, but rather it is counting down to the start not of a standard week, but of a 7 day period that we call the AC solstice, or the ascendant solstice. Starts when the sun sets, today. And we I don't want to take too much time. Again, as I've said, matter of time, forgive me for keeping on reiterating that point. And my name is Jorogewa Homewargongo. I'm the astrologer within Neoteran Astrology. And we are going to go straight away to looking at the week. As usual, we should look first of all at the planetary junctions and motion for this week. It's just the data. Remember this data, even if you cannot be able to see it very clearly, maybe on your device, we will be giving you um, we'll be giving you these graphics so that you can take a look at them. So basically, this is the alignments of the planets, their motions, and the junctions at which they are. And you try to look at them both from the terrestrial and the terrestrial point of view. I don't want to belabor that point because these are things we've talked about adequately. Even as I try to keep track of whether or you can be heard. Thank you, the consultant. It's great to hear that you can get me clearly. And I want to just change that waveform visualize so that it's no longer showing as it is on the graphic. So this is the outline of the weekend. This week we are always striving to give more actionable information when we talk about the plan and about how we're going forward, so they can understand time better. Remember, that is the ultimate objective, is to provide you with information that is actionable, and you can be able to make decisions upon that kind of information. And therefore, one of the things that is a bit, remember, when we are trying to represent the heavens, are very complex sets of systems that are always interchanging, and therefore try to capture the details in a way that can help us look forward to the times that are coming, be able to understand them, visualize them. And I'm great on that because I understand some of the concepts that you talk about are a little bit abstract. So if you look at this graphic, is that this graphic we give this, or rather this table, it gives you the order of the planets. We have 16 Neoteran astrology planets, and here they give in the order of their precedence, starting with the sun all the way to the ascendant node of the moon. This is not strictly very following very particular criteria, but when we follow them, like the main planets, they follow we follow the order in which they're used. They've been used since ancient times to refer to the days of the week. Actually, the number of the planets, the week is a very unique construct because it is not a representation of a cycle of the heavens, but rather it is a representation of the embodiment and the structure of the 7 major planets that every human being living on the face of the earth can be able to see without aids of telescope. Just need to know where to look and be able to trace those what they are, basically stars visible to the eye. And then we follow up with a number of 9 minor planets, but they are not all planets. Only 6 of them are planets, 3 of them are points. So we arrange them in that order. But it doesn't always give us a very good indication of how they happen in the heavens. Of course, that's why we use the graphics that we call the major planets, the alignments of the major planets and the minor planets. But we will not capture them in one graphic to show you, so that sometimes you can talk about a conjunction, and if that conjunction, like let's say, involves a major planet and a minor planet, and because these ones, they are represented on 2 different graphics, so you may not be able to tell that. So what you're going to do is, from this week, we're introducing a new graphic, or rather a new table, and you're going to tabulate this data and this data. And by the way, what I'm showing you is alignments of the planets from last week. That is for week 41. Remember, we always try to give you both the week, the previous week, and the current week, so that you can be able to get a glimpse. And sometimes you have to make reference so that it's the correct week 42's table. Let's talk about tables and graphics, so that when I talk about a graphic, you know it's an image. It's a schematic diagram giving an approximation, not to scale, of the motions of the planet. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that this table is only giving you in the order that we name them, but they are not in the order that they appear in the sky. When we look at the sky, we normally know this is the order we look, but these are the major planets, and then, or rather, the major planets for the other week. I want to just refer to those from last week, and these are the minor planets. So I'm saying that there's a bit of a disadvantage of looking at them this way, because, like, let's say a major planet is in conjunction with a minor planet, like the way we have at this point in time. We know Saturn and Neptune are in conjunction. They've been in conjunction for the past 6 weeks, as we've been talking about this. But because Saturn is a major planet, Neptune is a minor planet in our system. They are on 2 different graphics. You may not be able to always capture that kind of detail, but when you look at them according to what I call now, I'm going to begin calling now the zodiacal alignment, you can be able to capture them. So this new table that we are bringing to you is going to consider the zodiacal planetary order for the week. And of course, as I said, if you cannot be able to see the details on a very small graphic or a very small screen, we always share these. You'll be available on Facebook. They'll be available on our WhatsApp global community in the particular group that we call teaching and knowledge base. Teaching and knowledge base. Just go join our community, then follow through the groups that are publicly you can join, and just look for the teachings and knowledge base. I am also realizing a disadvantage of that is that WhatsApp does not give new members a history of the exchanges that have happened previously, and for that purpose, we're going to, that is why we have, of course, the WhatsApp page, the Facebook page, but you're going to still have maybe a Telegram group. I know many of us are familiar with Telegram, and therefore we're going to give you that. So this is new for this week, and it doesn't just mean it's new for this week. That means also when we do your natal profile, remember your natal profile is nothing very different from the very same sort of things that we do for every week. We are trying to map a moment, but for a week, it's not possible. A week is made of many, many, many moments. So we usually choose the moment that is at the very center of that week, at the halfway point of the fourth day in a 7-week calendar week. Then you can be able to capture graphic representation. But when you have your natal profile, it's very, very representative because it is a particular moment in time that is associated with your influence and your access to the what you may call the supernatural, what you may call the esoteric, to what you may call the transcendental or the cosmic energy and realm. So this is the sort of that distinction. So I'm saying that now also this kind of table will be available too on your natal profile. It's very, very important that you have your natal profile because I try my best. There are some things, especially things that have to do like with the sun and the moon. These ones don't have a lot of restrictions on anyone. So the sort of information that you can harness using the sun and the moon. Yeah, but you look at all the other planets, all the other 14 remaining planets, they have caveats, particular caveats, and particular importances that apply to individuals. And the information that I may give you, like now we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction. And I get a lot of questions about what does it mean. And I say it can mean anything actually. It can mean good, it can be different, or it can be bad for particular profiles of individuals. So when you have a profile, you're able to understand these things and then compare them with yours and be able to understand what it is that you need. And it's so good for us because we are a community. And as a community, what we are able to harness is what is collectively available to the congregation of who we are. So together we come together and we do that. So this is the outline of the planets that you can see. You're going to see something very specific, like now, as I was saying, like here, if we talk about, and I hope that when I point to this part of the screen that is replicated. I don't think that is particularly replicated. I have to point it. I wanted to show, like now, if you talk about planet Saturn and planet Neptune, and I'm able to zoom in a little bit here, and thankfully I'm able to. So now that is very clear because Saturn and Neptune, you can see they're here. The particular data that we use for determining whether a planet is in conjunction with another one is the ecliptic longitude. So we'll look at the ecliptic longitude. If you look like that one of Saturn, it's 181 degrees, 24 minutes and 45 seconds. And you can see when it comes to Neptune, yes, here it's 182 degrees, 5 minutes and 57. So you can see it's just over 1 degree. A conjunction in our system is determined, or rather is determined, or rather is defined when two planets, and actually this is what we call perfect conjunctions. There are other conjunctions that we usually take into consideration, especially for your profile, but you don't usually take them for here. There is some that we call, like now, celestial house conjunctions, and they are what we consider to be host conjunction. So they are different ones that are not as specific as the perfect conjunction. These are perfect conjunction because these planets are within 3 degrees of arc between each other. So that is why I'm saying it's important. This graphic helps you understand some of the things we talk about, and that one is clear. Conjunctions are always determined by that, but there are other measures that, as you're going to see as you go on tonight or this evening, to explain. So that is why we've come up with this graphic, and it's going to be available every week now. We're going to look at the zodiac order of the planets, and if I zoom in and you see them in that order, is that you can see at the very beginning of house 2, we have planet Vesta, we have the anti-solar point, Pluto, the moon, the ascendant node, then you go to Saturn and Neptune, you go to Sirius, Aries, Venus, Uranus, the Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and the descending node. So usually you see the Sun is usually, they're always number 1 in the other table that we usually show, but here of course it is number 12, and it shows us also the progress throughout the year, because as this year progresses, the Sun moves closer and closer to moving out. It's here in house 9, and soon actually we'll be talking about it being in house 10. That one is part of what we're going to discuss today. We only have 15 minutes, so I'm going to be very, very fast in what I do. And I'm not going to actually discuss these, a lot of these graphics. Actually, I'm going to just go straight away to just illustrate some of the differences about the things you're doing. Another change that we're introducing from this week going forward is that and my pointer is not coming to me. Here it is now. Is that now when you look at the planets, is that we're going to be giving other indications that are not very easy to illustrate on a static graphic. And I'll have to zoom in a little bit here to show. Like now, you're talking about the solstice, which as we're going to discuss very shortly, is the standstill of the sun. And therefore you see the sun is at a standstill, and therefore this S graphic is going to show that the sun is at standstill. Don't worry too much. We're going to talk about its significance and what it means. I know that is usually the most important question. Understandably, what does this all mean? And we are going to talk about that if we have time. And this is the minor planets. I don't know why we have the minor planets for week 41 here. We ought to have the minor planets for week 42. Minor planets. It's supposed to be week 42. Forgive me for that matter. Can correct that one very quickly. Should not speak about week 41. It's week 42. That's why I was getting a little bit confused by that. So again, what you can see here is that we have another graphic. If you look at planet Pluto here, there is a backward facing arc, which means the planet is in retrograde. Then you have another here. This is for the anti-solar point. Anti-solar point replicates, but in an opposite way, what the sun does. So the sun is at the ascendant standstill, the solstice. So the anti-solar point here is at the descendant solstice. It stands still, but at the descendant solstice point or the Sagittarian solstice point. And we have this is planet Vesta, which is or was in standstill at the beginning of the week. So those are the major. These are just changes we are doing to make sure that you're able to understand. This is the graphic. This is our week, and we don't have plenty of time. I am noticing that we're going to have 12 minutes to go to the start of the week, not rather the start of the week, but it's the start of the solstice period, and therefore we're going to move very quickly because there's plenty of material I wanted us to cover. The solstice week starts this day, Tuesday, as upon Monday. I remember I may have mentioned this one at the beginning of the month, so we're not going to delve more. Now, today we're going to talk about the ascendant solstice and what it is. And the term solstice comes from the Latin word solstitium, and this literally means the sun at stationary standstill. That seems like too much of a repetitiveness, but that is the most literal way to interpret that term. Now, it is a period of time, about 7 days. I put in brackets about because it's not very specific, but according to our system, we consider 7 days. Other people consider just 1 day. We'll see why they do that. And the sun rises and sets at the same position on the horizon. Doesn't mean that exactly where it rose is where it will set. Of course, that would be a contradiction. The sun always rises to the east, sets in the west. But I mean, the previous day where it rose, or the second day there is a precipitate rise, and on the previous on that day it will set at a particular place, and the following day it will set at the very same place. So the rising and setting position of the sun at the ascendant solstice have the northernmost azimuth value. That is why we usually give you the azimuth when we are talking about the start of a new day, always designated by the setting sun. And that one is a northern, we get the northernmost value for the entire year during the ascendant standstill. And that should tell you that during the descendant standstill, it's the opposite, that the sun will have a setting and a rising with the most southern azimuth values for the entire year. Now, something unique about our system and our calendar, and what I describe as the beauty of our calendar, is that always in our calendar, it is the 10th month when we go through the ascendant solstice. And the 7-day solstice period, it usually starts 3 days before, and I don't know whether I'm displaying the notes, that's correct, I can see I am. It starts about 3 days before the day the sun makes its creative gateway planetary transit. Now, what we're going to do is today, I think actually we may move to marking the solstice. Then instead of stopping at the point where we just speak about the new day, we are going to come back to discussing these notes, and therefore that is better. So we're going to just, I think, because very far one, we only have 9 minutes to go, and we'll not be able to move to do a lot of, we'll not be able to cover everything that you're talking about in that period of time. So how do we determine this 7-day period? Is it arbitrary? Let me just go back. How do we choose these 7 days to be the solstice days? So what we do is you make that observation that I was about to explain, and that is the last point I'll make before we move on, is that we look at the point in time when the sun, because is about to make its great creative gateway planetary transit from Neoteran celestial house 9 into Neoteran celestial house 10. And we are able to do that because, as you can see clearly here, and that's why it's so good to have these graphics here with us, is, no, just wanted to zoom in on this one. It's a little bit of so just allow me some little bit of latitude here, is that this Gemini solstice point, or ascendant solstice point, or northern solstice point, is the northernmost place, the highest place in the ecliptic or the zodiac cycle where the sun gets. So then the solstice, this can seem like I'm contradicting myself, because I'm saying the sun is moving and then I'm talking about standing still. It's because the standstill of the sun is determined very differently. And we're going to have maybe a whole video that dedicated to standstill of planets, because there's so much that is embedded in standstill. So we're beginning the 3rd year of our calendar. We talked about standstill and said standstills are special moments and signifiers that are going to put a lot of emphasis on. And it's important that we understand the various types and natures of them. So the sun is the way it comes to a standstill that is usually determined by terrestrial coordinates where it rises and sets. When it comes to the moon, it's a little bit different. When it comes to the synodic planets, and that is, I'm talking about Mercury and Venus, and by the way, the moon is also synodic, but in a quite a different way. They also have standstills that are attached to synodic. The moon's standstills are not attached to its synodic cycle. And then you have the outer planets, usually a lot of, just like a whole gamut of minor planets, and planets like Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. These are very different way that they come to standstills, and every one of them has signifiers of things. We started just harnessing and studying these things, and I want to stop at this point so that we can now start considering moving into the solstice period. And these are going to be 3 days preceding Friday. Friday is a point at which the transit from house number 9 to house number 10, and we called that a creative gateway transit. If you remember, if you look at the what if I can go back just a little bit to the PowerPoint, is that I've said that transit of the sun, it's a creative planet. It's a creative gateway planetary transit. The sun undergoes very many planetary transits, of course 12 of them through the year, but 4 of them are creative gateway transits, and this is the third of them. Or yeah, it is the fourth of them actually. Yeah, this is the fourth of them, is the last one for the year. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more when we come back from marking. And today we are going to talk about, we're going to, what is that? I need to calculate this manually because I have not calculated it properly. If you come, when the sun at equinox, it sets at exactly 270 degrees, and today we are talking about 23.4. So 293 degrees, if you have a compass, that is the azimuth which we are facing. If you're precise enough, you can choose 293.4 degrees to the west. We are starting up. I am starting up as well as we head towards the start of the solstice period. Just 3 minutes away. And I want you to, as I said, this is the marker. This one is for us the beginning. It's something that is dictated to by the moon and the sun, specifically the moon, and there's no restriction here. That's the beauty of the sun and the moon, that they give us leeway to speak even when, without worrying that you may speak and you may not be in accordance to the word. So I want to give you just a minute to think about what you'd like. We're going to, let me see, this is about manifesting. This is about bringing to reality the things that you've travailed for, that the things that you have seeded, brooded over, and travailed for, giving them license, structure to appear in the material world. So I'm giving you just 1 minute. We're going to turn up the music a little bit. Think about these things, and then we're going to speak together under my guidance to program every one of these realities. Okay, thank you. I hope that you have had a moment to put into consideration. You have uppermost in your mind. Try to put it every one of these consciousness programs, things that you are seeking to achieve to bring to reality, foremost in your mind. Close your eyes if you can visualize them as we speak. Here we are on the verge of entering this special 7-day period. And aware as we are of our mandate, we are bringing to remembrance the things that you've travailed for, the things that you put our creative energy to, the things, the programs, the adventures, the plans, the schedules, the plannings, and every sort of deal that you have gone into over the previous 3 quarters of a year, and we have labored about them and travailed. Let them now receive the impetus of becoming as we enter into this period, which both will be doing travail and birthing, that at every single moment of this transit is that we are going to not only bring to remembrance but to realization. Let the cosmic order, let every energy that is given unto us come unto us in fullness, in proper order, and in accordance and in perfect continuity of the things that are, and the things that will be, and the things that are to come. We have the strength, we have the power to bring these things to be. We know the wisdom, the science, the art, and the skills, the handiwork, and the cerebral know-how to make this happen, not only in a way that satisfies the bare minimum, but that one that exceeds in every measure of what there is. We are rejoicing, we are happy, we are fulfilled, for we see the goodness, the beauty, the loveliness, the perfection of that which we have strived to bring to reality. These words have strength, they have finality, they are law, for we have made them to be binding in realms of creative endeavor. It is so. And together, let's agree, and it is good in our sight. Thank you so much if you have followed consciously with those words. Well believe. Remember, what we are doing today is just entering into that period. And what is going to happen from tomorrow? Normally, our period of time for travail is sunrise. And we're going to give very specific times. We're going to start doing this regularly every one of these following days. It's that is the period of time. That is the period of time that is coming to an end. That is the season of travail that is coming to an end. The past 3 months, that's what we've been going through. And then from tomorrow, or rather this day, actually, this day, but it's tomorrow, because tomorrow just meaning the morning, the day starting in the morning. So it's tomorrow at midday. We are going to speak to begin the period of birthing. Birthing is very different. People, when they think about birthing, usually they are thinking about travail. Birthing is a period that is beyond travail. Is where you are in receipt of what you have, but just receiving it in your hands is not adequate enough. You need to program it. You need to give it license. You need to name it. That is why God did just leave. Creation was not complete, and people say God finished. Yes, God finished his work at the 6 days, but he didn't finish. The creation was not over, because actually even virtually every the things that he had created had not been named. It's just a few sparing things that were like what? It's only the light and darkness that had been named. Even the days of the week were not named. It is man who came to name. That was still birthing. That was equivalent. Birthing is more equivalent of harvest and programming. Actually, throughout, of course, all throughout the creative cycle, we are programming. We are programming reality. So we begin. That is what we're beginning from tomorrow. So we'll have 2 sessions. In reality, we'll be having 3 sessions because, of course, we'll be speaking about the new day. Then we should be speaking at sunrise. No, we'll be speaking at sunset like we've done today. Then we'll speak at sunrise, and then we'll speak again at midday. We'll do that for the 7 days, and then on a day like today, like now, the next Tuesday, because after Monday is the last day of the solstice. On Monday, we'll stop now speaking at sunrise, and we'll be only speaking at midday up until the start of a new solar year. And the solar year goes, the good thing about this year is that the solar year will start on the very same day of the lunar year. They coincide. So it's a bit of a blessing, something of a system that will proceed up until the end of the year. Whether when you're speaking at midday as a creative point, we may not always be able to gather together, but provided you're given the times, remember to speak in your own authority. That is even more powerful. Of course, when you do it together at these special moments, it's important, especially when you're starting the new day. But when you give the transit, especially other days, we may not always be able to give you we may not always have a Google Meet link. We'll strive to have as many of them as possible. But provided we've given you the times, remember to speak at that time. As I said, that is something that you can start doing even if you don't have a profile, because it has to do with the moon and the sun. Yeah, there are sometimes some people who have more influence with the sun or who can speak on our behalf, especially when it is their birthday. That's only time, and it doesn't mean that the rest of us don't have or rather cannot speak on that day. But it's usually just somebody who is special, who has priestly access that none of us can be able to access on that particular day. They have such a vibration that is in what with the sun and the moon. But those ones of the sun and moon, that is why I liberally distribute those transit times, because there is no one who can be at any time in not in congruence with what is happening at the time. So now let us go back to our learning. And if you do have questions or comments about what you're talking about, you can put it in the chat. I'm usually looking at my notes, so sometimes I don't look directly at the chat as it is going on, and I may not be able to monitor, by the way, my WhatsApp at this particular time. Just let's make use of the chat functionality. I want us to go back now to our learning as we look at more of these, what about understanding the solstice. There are said at solstice. And the solstice, remember I said, is what we call solstices are standstills of the sun. But standstills are not unique to the sun. The moon has standstills. Every planetary body has standstills. Even when you talk about comets, they do have standstills. So, and standstills are very, very good. We're just beginning to scratch the surface of what they do. So, there's more mystical understanding. Like, I think, of course, our ideal astrologer to look forward to is Joshua, because Joshua causes the sun and the moon to achieve other kinds of standstill, very specific standstills. But and there is no what I've seen people try to explain and say, oh no, it is the earth that stopped. No, it's not the earth that stopped. It is the sun and the moon that stopped. We just haven't worked out the mechanics or understanding of what it is that he stopped. And because you're saying if the sun and the moon stop, it will be catastrophic. Actually, we are talking about from that astronomical understanding, and you say it is the earth that stopped. That is even more catastrophic from purely what you call empirical understanding. That is even more catastrophic than what you talk about the sun and the moon stopping. So that our perspective, we'll have to understand it, and the more we understand, the better we get into that. and I say this, usually um, the law that controls these um, empirical standstills, or these global standstills that happen, regular ones that are predictable, it's a high law, but it's a lower law than like the law that Joshua used. I love to know the law that he used, how he applied it. But you cannot apply that law unless you have understood and really mastered this other lower law, the lower law that now we are, that is guiding this standstill and this solstice as you go ahead. So I only have like two couple more points to make here with reference to this. So in general, speaking from a general point of view, when you talk about planetary standstill, whether we're talking about the sun, you're talking about the moon, we're talking about the synodic planets, that is Mercury and Venus, as I say, that come to synodic standstills, this is usually a signal. And this is, of course, we're coming to the point where most questions, what does it mean? How can I make use of it? We are already making use of it now. We are making the standstill because you're speaking. And that's what I tell you. Make sure tomorrow, the times that you're going to give at the sunrise and at midday, you're there speaking. I give detailed instructions about which time you're going to face, the posture you're supposed to assume, and the kind of language you're going to use. Of those, the language is very, very important. The time is important. Consciousness. Posture, if you're in a place that you can do it, but sometimes you're not in a place that you can do it. It could be in an office, it could be somewhere, even in a meeting, you don't have to worry about like lying on the ground or that. Because I want to make this practical. I don't want to really like make this actually, you don't have to subject yourself in such a way that astrology becomes your master rather than you becoming the master of astrology. You're supposed to. So that is why you need to prioritize. So it's the posture, and the posture particularly is not as important as your consciousness. Your consciousness is the most important thing. And everything we are doing now, even when we are teaching you so that you can have a consciousness that enables you master your reality. And secondly, it is time, because these are very specific times. So you got the time right. You got the consciousness right. You got the language right. You don't have to worry too much about the posture. But if you cannot assume the posture, well and good. Well and good. But let it not be that you cannot do this because you cannot do the posture. There are other things actually that those of us who have participated with us, because we usually use even creative elements like water, fire. There's a way. There are the four elements of the earth. There is the water, there is fire. Then they begin with the descendant ones, like the ones that are more about expressive. That is the earth and the water. And usually have fire and wind. There's a way we integrate them in the way we do things. So those of us who have participated with us for several years now, they know how we integrate those elements and how we do them. But you don't have to have all of them. If you can have them well and good, that is great, because even it's like Christ says, it's good to fulfill all righteousness. So it's important. Do every one of things as much as you're able to. But don't do it in such a way that it becomes legalistic. You're doing it because it's an obligation. You're doing it that it binds you. So it is not you doing the creative work that is important. What is important is you fulfilling every jot and crossing every T. That is not the essence. That one totally makes you a slave. So that is one thing that we need to watch out against. I'm not saying that you become lazy and you don't, let everything go as it is. No, that is not the kind of culture I am trying to encourage in you. I'm just saying, always be able to stay above the fray, understand you are the master. But you cannot, one of the things I say, you cannot do that in ignorance or with willful disregard of the laws and the times. as they are. So the I'm talking about planetary stances. I don't know even how I went to that. Uh, is that they signify an extended period in time. So it's very, very important that like now an extended period where there is peak access. So here I should have actually underlined extended and peak access. This is a very, very important period. That's very important. So during a planetary standstill, always we have like this. These are the two important things. And I tell people astrology, if you don't get anything else, get everything else. Get about the times, talk about the azimuth and all these other technical details. Creative astrology. Because this is very, of course, if you know astrology, what we are talking about is very, very different from what you heard about in astrological cycles before. Astrology is about two things. It's about influence and harnessing. So at any time, you can use creative astrology to cause creative influence and to harness creative virtue. But at standstills, something happens, something different happens. And during standstill, you have what we call an extended period of time. Because usually some of the openings that happen at other moments, they're usually momentarily. But this is an extended period, as I've said, like this one is 7 days, okay? It's 7 days. And during those 7 days, there's an extended period. It's not only extended, but it gives peak access. Like there is the most, purest, most effective, most progressive, and most consequential of the energy that is available at any time for that kind of work. So that is what we talk about that. Another thing that standstills are usually also associated with retrogrades often. The sun, we know it doesn't go to in retrograde fashion. But the also timelessness. Actually, that is another point about standstills, is that there is a concept of timelessness during a standstill. And therefore, that sort of enables you to do sort of a time travel, is that you can do things in ages, things that should have taken place in ages past, or sometimes things that are to take place in ages future. You can be able to correct that because there's an element of timelessness. I did capture that in the notes. And that is about statistics, and that, as I've said, it's in general. So capture that, those are about 5 things I've said there. 1, causing creative influence. 2, harnessing creative influence. 3, extended periods in time. 4, peak access. 5, timelessness. So there are about 5 things that are associated. These are the 5 themes associated with astrological standstills. And all of them, we are able to harness them. So that is what's special about this particular standstill of a sun. Now we come to the ascendant solstice. It represents a period in the solar year. As I said, every solar year needs to have this. And that is the beauty of our system, is that you cannot, if you look at other people even who do lunisolar calendars and have calendars, is that sometimes you may find one of the creative gateway junctions is truncated of the year. So the year ends up having only 3, and then another year has 5. But in our system, the beauty of it and what contributes to making our calendar the most beautiful, the most elegant, the most accurate, most balanced calendar there is that every year at particular times we have these creative gateway transits happening. And I can challenge you, look for a calendar that obeys those rules and has the elegance and beauty and structure that can rival our own, and you're in for a very big reward. I announced that at the beginning of the year. If you go back to that video, I think I was listening to the other day, and I think how much do you offer? I don't remember exactly. I'll not. I'll give you the challenge. Go check the launch video for the new year. It's available on our YouTube channel. Look for it because it is overpriced. If you can find a color that is in common practice and manages to exceed ours in this kind of astrological elegance, balance, and accuracy, price is yours. So the particularity of the ascendant solstice is that you can harness creative virtue for what we call travail. And remember here, as I said, notice here it's harnessing creative virtue. This is not causing creative influence. So this is a period of harnessing creative virtue. It's harnessing creative virtue for travail and birthing facets of creative astrology for the entire year. So whatever it is that we're able to get at this time is you're able to distribute it. You are able to make use of it for the entire year. It's open for us to do for the entire year. And that means up until the next time we have another ascendant solstice, the energy we are able to harness at this time is going to serve us for us a year, and then it can go back. We can harness again. We can work to harness again that kind of virtue as we go and as we progress throughout the rest of the year. So that's it about the ascendant solstice. As you can cover tonight, and as you can cover in this particular episode, there's a lot more to be said. And therefore, we come to the last section of our weekly Herald, and that is where we talk about the highlights for the week. So what's special about this week? We've already spoken about that. What is most special? But is not the only special thing that is happening? So one of the things that's happening is planet Vesta. If you remember from last week, and I can go to that graphic just shortly. Let's go. If you look at the minor planets from last week, or rather, if you look at the graphic, the table for the minor planets, for the planets last week, and if I can zoom here, is it? I'm now trying to teach you how to read these tables. Is that if you look at here, we have something they call Neoteran planetary motion. Is it is 5 here. Planet Vesta, if you look at its motion, it is RET. Of course, starting for retrograde. It wasn't the only one that was in retrograde. Also, planet Pluto was in retrograde. But we go to this week. And if we go, that is week 41. Look at week 42. Is this week 42? No. Oh yeah, here we are, week 42. And you look at Vesta here. Is that on Wednesday morning? The point at which that is most representative is that you see Vesta now is no longer retrograde. It is prograde. Why? Because on Sunday, yesterday, 2 days ago rather, Vesta came to a standstill, but now it's finished. It's finishing its standstill, and now it's going back to its prograde transit across house number 2. So that is what has to do with that highlight, that particular highlight. Of course, as I've said, ad infinitum is when you find these highlights. We're just summarizing what is in this table. This table, everything that we're talking about is summarized here, is caught up here. But now we go pick up the most important things that are essential for a general understanding of where we are. So there we are. That's the first highlight of the week. Second, this is the first week in which planet Aries. And this is very special because, of course, Aries is very, very special, is very significant because it's rare. Nothing happens to the planet Aries. Planet Aries is basically like a star. It doesn't matter how much old you are. Is that everyone, if you look at all the people, I've profiled about maybe 30, 50 people, and the ranging age, I think the oldest person I've ever profiled was born in the Gregorian calendar year 1948, and the most, maybe the most recent one that I profiled, born maybe in the year 2020 or 2021, that is year one or year two in our calendar. And all of them, planet Aries was in the southern hemisphere. Not only was it there, it was in the final phase. So its motion was always DCP, or in full positive descent. It was in positive descent. Motion is motional loss. But now, any child that is born from Sunday last week, going forward, they are going to have a different designation for their profile, very different for planet Aries. The very first time it's in the northern hemisphere, and its motion now is no longer descendant, positive descent, but actually it is positive ascent. Okay. Of course, I've said this. I'll not speak about that again. The Neoteran year 5, Saturday solstice, starts Tuesday, 21 1st of the 10th common month of the year 005 Erenium. Then something that is happening towards the end of the week, on Friday, 24th of the 10th common month in the year 005 Erenium in the Neoteran calendar, the Sun and Jupiter will be in conjunction. I don't know whether this is going to call it Jovian solar conjunction. We could, and it's going to continue for about 10 days up until Sunday, that of the 11th common month of this year. And then, of course, what we have been repeating since the beginning of these episodes, the conjunction of planet Saturn, planet Neptune continues in the entry of Habis Elder. So again, maybe, of course, you may ask me, what is the Jupiter solar conjunction supposed to mean? Again, anything. It could be good, could be different, it could be bad. Depends on your natal chart. So seek to understand. If you want to know how you can harness that, that is specifically what, because even if the Sun is there, you know about Jupiter. Jupiter changes everything there. So that is it for this week. These are usually just highlights. It doesn't mean that this is everything that is happening in the astrological heavens. We are not able to comprise that. And sometimes some of these things escape me, even something significant. And but what we can do is keep on standing. But I can tell you these are the most significant ones, because right now the beauty of doing this consistently, regularly, and doing it in a way that considers every sort of permutations, that we are able to anticipate these things in advance. We've not done this, and the beauty of this is the 7th week in which we've been doing this consistently. There's not a single week that we've not done this. Is that we become masters together. I'm now becoming a better master of time. The thing about astrology is that you don't just need to understand you of the past or the moment in the past, is that you need to progressively understand the moments and the times as they come. And these episodes, as much as they are for your benefit, they are very much good for my benefit. And I'm able to. Actually, there's a time you could have asked me any question, and I may not be able to provide you with very good information. Tell you, let me go first of all and study. But the good thing is that now I have studied. I know what is happening for next week. I'm already working on how the alignments will be next week. I'm able to have at my fingertips information about what is happening at any time. And you can, when you post your questions, I'll be able to be giving you far much more accurate, actionable information. And this is astrology. Astrology is a science. It's not mumbo jumbo, as people try to point it out. And it's a lot of work. And I wouldn't have it any other way because it's work that is elegant, has beauty, has meaning, has consequence, and you can be confident in it. Myself, from a very long time, I love numbers. I always work with numbers. Numbers don't lie to me. Numbers don't change their minds midway. That's why I love numbers. And I'm not saying people are bad, but people are not, you cannot fit them in boxes. But I love numbers because numbers, when you put it in a box, it stays there. And when next time I check it, it is always in that boxes. And that is why I'm working with my spreadsheets and my databases. The numbers are there. They are what they are. And then I can manipulate them in a way, and then they give me information. And by the way I do astrology is very old-fashioned, but very, very new and very novel. This is how astrology used to do work before until some, like now. Of course, you don't do this kind of horoscopes and star charts the way they are. This ones you can develop them very, very, very quickly, but I feel like they gloss over things, they oversimplify, and they cover up on some certain things. For us, it's different. And I know for certain the things that we are doing at the way we are understanding time is the right way. Enough blowing my own and our own trumpet together. If you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat section and we will respond to them. The beauty about this is that usually I am a little bit ahead of you, and therefore if there was a comment I could have, but it would be good. But I'm very glad about the progress you're making. This is a much longer episode than I had expected it would be, but we have put in a lot of information. Now we are coming better and better towards, we are not even at the sort of where I wanted these kind of teachings to go and what they are supposed to do, but we are approaching that sort of perfection. We are always striving to do that so that you can have the information that you need at the time you need. Thank you so much. I want to sign off. My name is Jeroge Wahomewarugongo, your personal astrologer. Join below the what in the description of the video if you have not joined yet our global community, as astrological global community. I know some of us, many of us, maybe even will be seeing this what in a recorded fashion. So if you do see that, just go to the description. There is a link, and I know it's a little bit old-fashioned, but it still take you directly to the community, but it take you to a particular group in that community. So when you go to that group, just take liberty to explore a lot more about that. I'll be putting even the link to join our Facebook page, where we also be posting these things. But these things, the discussion first of all happens on Neoteran Astrology Global Community on WhatsApp. That is the most immediate place where announcements, whether they are urgent, that's where you can get most notifications. So please, if you do have WhatsApp, that is good. If you don't have WhatsApp, then certainly may not benefit as much from our endeavors for now. But we are working towards having more of a staff. The kind of work that we do requires but I may need somebody to be assisting me so that I can be doing the posts across the entirety of social media. But we're doing very, very well. I'm thankful to every one of you. You people are amazing. You make this worthwhile. You make it, you spur me on to think and work on these things. So have an amazing solstice week. Remember the language to use now. We are using the language, both the language of travail, the language of it is time. Try to suffuse it in your language. So it is time for things to happen. That is the language of travail. That is what we do, and that is what we will be speaking tomorrow at sunrise. And then we have the one of birthing. We use both of them because it's a peak. As I said, it is a peak time for both travail and birthing. You can choose that one of fulfillment, that one of thankfulness, that one of affirming the manifest reality about the things that we have worked so hard for across the year, knowing they are here for now and they are permanent and they are fulfilling and they are satisfying. So thank you so much. I've tried to sign off several times, but now I'm signing off for good. Have an amazing week. Have an amazing solstice. And remember to keep checking us on our social media on WhatsApp so that I can get notifications about daily transits as we are talking about them in this period. They'll be posted on WhatsApp. Have an amazing rest of the week. I love you all.